Seems like the economic picture just keeps getting worse.
We've had a couple of bright spots of economic news as economies have reopened and activity has taken off again, but this is the broader picture which remains still pretty grim. The European Commission releasing these forecasts taking into account the period of lockdown across the continent, and the figures are as bad as we had been expecting and as bad or worse than they painted earlier in the year. The Commission says that it'll be the worst recession since World War II for Europe. It expects growth to slump by 8.7% across the 19 countries using the euro. Spain, France, Italy and Croatia will see the biggest percentage drops. Their economies will shrink by more than 10%. Germany's economy, the biggest in Europe, will see a slightly lesser contraction. It'll contract by 6% this year, but still not great. And critically, when you look ahead to next year, the Commission doesn't see the economies making up that lost ground in 2021, which means the recovery is going to take a longer time. Now, the picture is worse than the Commission painted earlier this year, and that's because the lockdown has been longer than expected, and also the lifting of restrictions has been slower than the Commission had originally thought it would be. This forecast coming as EU members are discussing the €750 billion economic recovery plan, which has come forward from the European Commission. That would include grants and loans to countries worst affected by this crisis. That's still under discussion by EU member states, not signed off on either. The main goal of that is to try and maintain employment as much as possible, to limit the number of job losses from this crisis. Not much good news on the jobs front either today. That new report from the OECD showing that the impact of this crisis on jobs will be 10 times worse than the financial crisis. Those in precarious jobs or on low incomes will be worst affected, the OECD says, and it says that even in the optimistic scenario that the virus is under control, the unemployment rate across OECD countries will be higher than it was, the highest it has been since the Great Depression by the end of this year. We've had plenty of warnings of a wave of bankruptcies that could come later this year. That'll result in job losses. This as companies wean themselves off government support. Things look like they're going to get a lot worse before they start to get better.